Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming on to Facebook Live tonight with New Jersey Revolution Radio. And we're going to have a great interview with a new content contributor, another new content contributor that we're really excited to see, this community grow. That's the idea. I mentioned on a previous show that, we want to, bring in new voices because I didn't want it to just be the Brian and Heather production, although I think Heather does a great job and I'm enjoying doing my own broadcasts. But if we want to do something special and we want to create social revolution, it certainly cannot be two voices. And so we're really excited to have new contributors with different voices come onto the podcast. We had Christian Perez, who joined us in a panel and who is doing Modernity and Absurdity every Thursday. He's got 2 more episodes left before that run ends out, but hopefully he'll be continuing, and he plans on continuing his work with NJRR. And tonight we have a second time appearance by Devon Bowers from the Hampton Institute. Devon joined me in a panel on what was the panel? It was media. It was racism in media.
Yes, racism in media. Yeah,
racism in media, which was like probably the best performance I've seen by panelists. It was great discussion, but the audio on it for some reason came out horrible. I wound up transcribing it word for word so that people could read what we talked about on that panel discussion. And if you go back in our logs on the site, you'll be able to see that discussion. And I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. So I'm glad to welcome you back, Devon. How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And one more thing, of course, if you can contribute to New Jersey Revolution Radio, please go to the website, make a contribution. Any amount will help. Monthly contributions are awesome because we can budget around that, and that helps us out tremendously. We're a small operation. We're looking at a $400 bill this month if we want to have some events and stuff. So please chip in and help us meet our monthly goal of $400. We'll let you know how we do. Devon.
Yeah.
How you been since our last panel?
I've been all right. How have you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. Been busy, doing a lot of production, so I'm glad to see somebody hop back in and take a little weight off because I don't feel the obligation to make sure something goes up every day. So it's a relief to have you and Christian aboard. Let me ask you, just to recap, where are you from in New Jersey? You are from New Jersey originally?
Yes, I'm originally from New Jersey. I live in Maplewood, New Jersey.
All right. And you were born and raised there, or is that just where you live now?
Just raised there. I was born specifically in Patterson.
Okay. All right. All right. Are you proud to be a New Jerseyite?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Cool, man. Well, we do have pride in New Jersey here, of course.
Yes.
Revolution Radio, right? So what's your background? How did you get involved how did you get to this point where you have a podcast on the Hampton Institute, which is no joke? I checked out their Facebook page, 47,000 likes. I mean, people, really like what you do, obviously. So tell me about yourself.
That's a story in and of itself. I around 15 or 16. Well, the thing is, I've always been a big reader. My mom was a teacher, specifically an English teacher, and so I was a really big reader. So around 15 or 16, I started reading a lot of political books. I was reading, Legacy of Ashes, A History of CIA by Tim Weiner. I was reading Chalmers Johnson, things of that sort. And, I was just reading, and I was into politics, but I didn't do any writing. That changed when I was 18 or 19. I was in college. I was an undeclared business major. One of the projects we were doing was to make a PowerPoint.
College? Which college?
Barely Dickinson. Yeah, Madison. So we were told to make a PowerPoint. I was like, okay. And I asked if I could go and I could do a PowerPoint on a news organization, Global Research, globalresearch.ca. They do great stuff over there. And so part of the project was I was actually able to get an interview with Michelle Chossudovsky, the founder, Global Research. And in the interview, we were talking, and he said, he didn't really care about the political lean of an article as long as it had good writing. So it got me to thinking. And so I wrote an article with the help of some online friends. I edited it and I submitted it. It was accepted. And I just kept writing ever since. So that
Hmm.
was 7 years ago now. So yeah.
Cool. Where can we find? Do you have written work available for viewing online, or how do we?
Yeah. Just go to what about my blog is called What About Peace. So whataboutpeace.com. I also came out with a book. Um it's a collection of articles and interviews I've done from mainly 2011 to around 2016, 2017. It's called Revolutions, Rebellions, and Resistance. The foreword is written by a great writer and researcher who's a major inspiration to me and a great friend of mine, Andrew Gavin Marshall.
How'd you meet him?
Um, I was following his work on global research, and then he went independent. And so I tried to get an interview with him, just an email interview in 2011 or 12. It was around the bombing of Libya. It was around that time.
Hmm.
And he accepted. And over the years, um, you know, our greetings and messages became more friendly and a lot less formal. And yeah, so
Wow. So he's your buddy now.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing. It's amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing what this day and age does for people trying to
yeah,
get stuff done.
definitely,
And to be able to network and communicate the way we do today. It's been a revolution over
without a doubt.
at my age, you're a little bit younger than me, but at my age, I saw it happen, and
Right,
I hope
right,
it brings more good things like the relationship you built with this guy. That's cool, man.
yeah,
So you did a lot of writing from what I heard.
yes.
When did you start, coming and figuring that I could maybe talk about this stuff and put it out in audio formats through podcast?
Well, I had been interested in podcasting because I was actually in college that I found out about podcasting. Probably the first podcast I listened to was Citizen Radio. It's now defunct, but it was a political podcast, and I was listening to them, and then it branched out into other podcasts, and I was like, maybe I can make one of my own. And so it started out with me being on YouTube, and I would just record the audio and then put it up on YouTube. And there's been a lot of trial and error. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple months back, I went through all of the Hampton Institute, all of our archives for our podcast,
Right.
and I just went and redid the audio, and it was just because there have been complaints and whatnot, but like it is a one-man show, but we've made a lot of improvements, and
Cool.
that's my main podcast. I have another podcast I've recently started. Um, it's called the Trillium Sessions, and that is on Anchor. So
Okay, cool, man. So you actually did a recent release on New Jersey Revolution Radio. You talked to a mutual comrade, Andrea Meridia Quer, and a gentleman from Socialist Alternative, right? What was his name?
Bryant William Skoulos, if I recall correctly. Bryant,
Yeah,
I don't know the middle name, but definitely Bryant Skoulos.
yeah,
Um, he's in social alternative, and if I recall correctly, he is a postdoctorate fellow. I forget the exact institution though.
okay, cool. And that was an interesting discussion. It was around a current event, with the death of John McCain, and you recorded it about a week ago, so it's recent stuff.
Yeah.
Um, what's been your favorite guest that you've had so far? Have you had the most fun talking
Oh, my favorite guest I had the most. That's a difficult one.
to? I wanted to put you in a
Oh.
bad spot, man.
um, hmm. I guess the two people I may be cheating here, but the two people that come to mind are Paul Craig Roberts and Michael Parenti. Those are probably my two favorite guests just because of their depth of knowledge and just the amount of information they have is bananas, you know. So I would say it's a tie. It's a toss up between Paul Craig Roberts and Michael Parenti.
What was Paul's topic?
I was talking to him about economics generally, unemployment and free trade. Michael Parenti, I was talking about student loan debt and just the general state of America.
Interesting, and that's out there on the in the world
Yep,
that we can talk.
yep,
So we encourage people, if you share those links, I'll put them out. But I'm
we'll
sure
do.
people can find them
Yeah.
by searching the Hampton Institutes. Or is it different lens? Those are the podcasts.
Yes, yes.
All right. So
We recently switched over to Libsyn, so you can just go to a different lens.libsyn.com. That's where the most recent stuff is.
all right.
The main website, hamptoninstitution.org, should link to the old WordPress where I was hosting stuff.
Right.
If not, contact it. It's a different lens podcast.wordpress.com. Try to throw out all these links.
It's okay.
Yeah,
And make sure it don't sweat it too much, because if you leave one out, you message me after the show and we'll put it out
exactly
on the Facebook
and
post.
I have a personal archive of everything. So
there you go. Cool. So I know that in my political journey, right, I took a certain route to the left, so to speak,
right.
before I became, what I consider, just anti-capitalist for the most part, although I do self-describe myself as a communist frequently. But I just hate capitalism more than I know how to fix it. I just, I admit that. What's your political journey been like, and where are you at with it today?
It was interesting in the sense that, because I was kind of like everyone else, in the sense that, you go to school and you get indoctrinated with this idea that America is just this amazing, great nation that can do no wrong. But in some ways I had a counterbalance to that, because my mom at a young age was exposing me to stuff like the Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, things of that sort. And then you combine that with the reading I did and whatnot. That really started out my journey leftward. Anyway, I'm still, I see myself as firmly on the left. I don't claim any specific tendency. I see myself kind of generally as a leftist, but I'd say it's still evolving in a way, because I'm always learning new stuff and analyzing new stuff. So, but yeah, I'm firmly situated on the left. And
Sounds that way, yeah. I mean, now you're a young man, and like you said, you're still evolving, and you never stop that, and you should always be evolving.
yeah,
But I can hear the obvious, like you said, Maoist roots a little bit, and you're there working for the Fred Hampton Institute. So it
yeah,
sounds like there was a bit of a goal there, maybe put in place a while ago, right? And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been fulfilled. It's been
yeah,
fulfilled.
yeah.
That's neat. Do you see yourself more involved with talking about big picture stuff, politics, what's going on in Congress, or do you prefer to get a little more grassroots than that? Because I've found that, even though I do discuss those kinds of things, even here we do a podcast, on a maybe monthly basis or so with my comrade Pat Noble. We just talk about trend and bourgeois
Right.
politics and stuff. But in my organizing, I prefer, speaking to working class people. I don't talk much
Right.
about what bill is in the state house at what time anymore.
Yeah.
Although there was a time when I, did that more. What do you see electoral politics as far as your interest goes, or do you? Yeah, who cares what they do?
And the thing is that you're just talking about me personally. I do a mix of things, in the sense that what I like to do is like, for example, through the written interviews I've done, through the podcast I've done, I like to give kind of a lot of times average everyday people, or people you don't hear or you wouldn't hear of, a platform. Um, you know, and when it comes to my writing and whatnot, I do big picture things, in the sense that I want to go, and what I want to do is I want to look at systems. I want to look at systems of power, how they operate and whatnot. Because the thing is that um, you can you can focus on the White House and electoral politics and whatnot all day. But the thing is that if you want to see the changes that, for example, I want to see, that I know you want to see in society, then that requires a systemic change. And so in order to study the system, how it operates, and so then you can develop systemic ideas and systemic solutions to the problems that we're having. Um, so I do a bit of both. Yeah,
Do you find yourself being a channel? Like I know that when I was in the shop, there were guys that talked politics, right? There was,
right, right.
when you work in, in group environments, so to speak,
Yeah.
there's always a few characters talking about
Yeah.
politics frequently. Do you find yourself as a channel from politics to working class people?
In some ways, yeah. I try and reach out to people from time to time. It's like when I'm working, we're just, shooting stuff. And we'll be talking about stuff and I'll just bring, we'll be talking, I'll just bring about, it's really messed up how, we get paid so little money to the point where we can't survive off of. And yet, the guy warranty chains above us getting paid way more money, doing a lot less work than the guys at the top, at the very top, of a company getting paid a ton of money. And, I bet you are only doing a fraction of the work that we do, you know? So I
It's
try to go and I connect it that way.
okay, cool. So how would you say that being involved with the left, writing, getting to know these wonderful people, and now on to this podcast, how would you say that you've changed? If you look back on yourself, maybe when you started college, right out of high school, you were 18 or 19, and here we are 8 years later. How do do you see yourself as a different person or just kind of a natural progression?
I do see myself as a different person in the sense that I definitely changed not just my political beliefs, but in terms of the way I approach things, because the thing is what college did for me. I have a degree in political science, which doesn't mean much, but the thing is what it did for me is it really to help to sharpen my writing skills, my reading skills, my researching skills. And so it definitely um, allows me to go and be able to process large amounts of information and just, strip away, okay, this is important, this is more, and I don't need this, I don't need that. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's get to the issue, you know?
Mm.
So it's made me a lot, I guess the term would be more analytical, one would say. Um, and in some ways, it's made me more sociable just because you're coming in contact with all these different people and different ideas, and you cannot, uh, you know, wall yourself off, or you can't be unapproachable, Um, so I've definitely had to change as a person through politics, definitely.
Outside of the public persona that you put out, would you say you're an introverted person or an extroverted person?
Pretty introverted. I
Yeah.
don't hang out too. I might hang out with my friends once or twice a month generally. I have my weekly D&D sessions that are going on currently.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to talk to my son about that. I know that
Yeah.
he's into that. He just gave me a look. My son does
Yeah.
my producing here, and we thank him. He does a great job. I was told to
Yeah.
thank him more, and he certainly does a great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We're doing great tonight. So before we go, I do want to ask you about the Fred Hampton Institute,
Sure.
because I've seen the Facebook page and, I've listened to some of the podcasts, and There may be people in the audience right now, although given our audience, I think most people will know
Yeah,
who Fred Hampton is and what
of
he did.
course, of course.
But let's for the sake of some newcomers and
Yeah.
some people maybe that we've drawn in to this
Hmm.
broadcast, let's talk about Fred Hampton and
Sure.
why is his name on an institute doing a podcast?
Yeah, sure. Well, Fred Hampton was a member of the original Black Panther Party. Um, you know, definitely a major organizer, was organizing poor white people, Chicanos, Native Americans, and whatnot. Um, and just because of that, he was seen as a threat, and so was killed by the Chicago police. Um, and the reason why we're named after him is because he really embodies what we want, in the sense that we want a working class group that can go and reach out to other folks and reach out to different people with different backgrounds, and just to bring them together on a common ground. Um, and uh, that's one of our main goals, is try and bring people together, and we want to provide a platform for everyday working people to view politics and to contribute as well. I reached out to, for example, about maybe a month or so ago, I went and I did a email interview with some people who have been long-term unemployed, and just to give them a platform to talk about their situations and what's led to their situations and how they're dealing with being part of the long-term unemployed. Um, and so I think that it's definitely important what we do. And yeah,
Hmm.
um, I actually got involved through the Hampton Institute because of Andrew Marshall. Um, he had put up on he was doing some fundraising and put up just casually that he was doing the Hampton Institute. So I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, what's this about? I'm curious." And he was like, "Yeah, it's this new think tank they're doing in America, da, 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 but we're still looking for people." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I got put in contact with Colin Jenkins, who is the founder and the social economics department chair. And he was like, "Hey, um, you know, we have a politics and government department position open. We don't have anybody." And I was like, "Cool, I'll do that," because my writing, I have touched in the past, and I generally touch on a lot of different stuff: foreign policy, economics, race, LGBT stuff. Um, and so I was like, "Sure, I'll do that." And I just want to say, no, side note, just shout out to him and everyone else at the Hampton Institute. They have been super duper supportive of the podcast and super duper supportive of just the work I've done on my own. It's been really hopeful being in that kind of an environment. Um, but yeah, and we've done a number of things. For example, a couple years back, I was not a part of this working group, but there are some of us who went and did a um, a report on the rise of Nazism and fascism in the United States for the United Nations, stuff like that. And so, we need funding as well. So if you're listening to this and you're curious, or you know the work we do and like it, please donate. You can go to hammondinstitution.org. There's a donate button. You go on our Facebook page. You have a pinned post there for the Hampton Institute Patreon. Donate, please. We operate on a shoestring budget. Everyone. You know, we do not get people on the who are department chairs and whatnot. I myself, we don't get paid. It's all volunteer stuff. We all have day jobs and whatnot. Um, so yeah, if you can, if you're listening to this,
Cool. Yeah.
and because even you're like, oh, I can only donate, $1 or $2 a month. It still helps. it adds up over time, you know.
Make it $1 for each of us. $1 to the Hampton Institute.
Exactly,
One
exactly. One
dollar
dollar to you, $1 to us,
Yeah,
you know. People think just a dollar, you
I
know.
think we need to, and one of the ways we're supporting, whether you give to, the Hampton Institute or any of these left-handed independent media companies, and we have other affiliates out there and other comrades, like Black Kids in Outer Space, like these other smaller independent media organizations. The power starts to be taken away from corporate media, which is really running the show.
Exactly.
And who's going to argue with that? And I was thinking in leading up, to this interview about the effect that independent media has to have if we want to reestablish something of a system that works for more people,
Yeah.
and if we want to call out white supremacy, and if we want to call out the war machine, those are the things that we don't hear on MSNBC, Fox News. I mean,
Rachel
these.
Maddow is part of the hashtag resistance, Brian.
Jesus Christ in heaven! Don't you say that around me. My blood pressure just went up. I'm supposed to be. All right, hold on. Yeah, you say resistance, my blood pressure goes up like 10 points. I gotta stop. I gotta take a breath. If I don't calm down, I might need a pill before we can continue. Oh God. All right, so I forgot what we were talking about. you know, the do you see yourself? I mean, I know that you're pointing out issues that you don't hear in the mainstream. What issue do you like to address as a personal favorite that's not poking through yet? What do you think the left's talking
Things I like to address mainly, my writing is mainly revolves around foreign policy, and that kind of is due to my degree because the only program that they had at my college for political science was a concentration in international affairs. And so most of my writing revolves around foreign policy. But weirdly, the thing is, I call myself a political writer. It is about politics, but really it's about more history than anything else. Because what I like to do a lot of the times is I'll look at stuff, but I'll look at it from a very much a historical perspective. You know, for example, you look at, civil forfeiture, everyone knows civil forfeiture and death to prisons and whatnot, and I'll look at it from a historical perspective, and just because I think that you you can't really you can make impact, but you can't make major impacts and changes if you don't know how you got to where we are now. You know what I'm saying? I think history is extremely important. Actually, behind me, I have a Malcolm X poster, covers. But the Malcolm X quote says right here, of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research, you know? And I think that's extremely important. And I definitely agree with that because, like I was saying, if you want to go, you want to attack system of power, you want to attack, you want to change society, you need to have an understanding of how we got to where we are in the first place.
about? Let me ask you a question. Because I think, well, yeah, I think America, the average American, is
Mhm.
woefully wrong on history. And I don't think that it's because they're stupid or because they're
No,
bad people. It's because they
no.
were brought up and indoctrinated into a system of white supremacy.
Yeah.
Um, so that being said, is that what we get wrong the most in history? Is there anything else? I mean, what do we get? What do we get wrong? Because we're wrong about a lot. If you
Oh, yeah.
compare what most Americans think is reality, and then
Yeah.
you look at actual reality, and somebody who yourself has studied history in your analysis, what are we most fucked up on?
With history,
It's a lot. It's a lot. You might need a
yeah,
few
it's a lot.
minutes.
Um, oof, oof. I would say the most messed up thing that we do is with leadership. When I say with leadership, I mean this. I think we do need leaders. Like, leaders are important. They're needed. They provide a focal point, you know. Why do you think that countries are, led by one, but they're generally led by one person? Because it helps to go and be like, okay, this is the person I have to talk to, But I think we mess up in terms of leadership in the sense that we look at leaders mainly in the mainstream political world, and we look to them to help us, look to them to save us. It's like, that is not going to happen. We need to look to each other, and, in groups, leaders do arise. And once again, I want to, because I think people can get the wrong idea from this. I'm not saying that having leaders is a bad thing, but if you are looking to people, especially in the mainstream political world, to go and have your back, to go and save you, to go and lead you in the right direction, it's not gonna help. You can have leaders, and you can simultaneously go and work with each other as well. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can have your point person, but you can also go and be working with each other to achieve your goals and achieve your objectives and work towards the society that we want to see. That's what I think we get most messed up
It's
with history.
it's but I could even pin you down more and try and make you give me an example. But I'll go ahead because I don't want to put you on the spot again, because that's another whole mess of weeds. You probably have to pick from thousands of examples. I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of leaders whom we glorify.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think one favorite of liberals, favorite FDR, man, that dude, he was like Santa Claus to poor people. I mean, he was like, you would think that it was really this great, but honestly, what he did was preserve capitalism and white
yeah.
supremacy. He
Exactly. His
made some
main goal.
concessions. He made
His
some.
main goal with the New Deal program was not to help people per se. It was to maintain the capitalist project. Period.
It worked.
Um,
It worked.
yeah, very much so.
And what they've done is they chipped away at it, right? So they give you this big,
Exactly.
they give you, Santa Claus came and gave the presents, and they weren't enough. And over the years, the Grinches popped in and just plucked the presents away one by one.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so
Yeah. It's been a fun conversation. I appreciate you coming on tonight. I
yeah, thank
appreciate
you for
your
having me.
your contribution of content. You are welcome to put out anything on the New Jersey Revolution Radio Network anytime. You know how to make it happen. So please, hope you continue to produce this important work, because it's great to hear you and other voices.
Yeah,
Going
thank you.
up on my website. Do you have anything before we go? I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you, websites, links. Please tell us how we stay connected to you and everything else.
All right. Websites. So hamptoninstitution.org. That's the main Hampton Institute website. Also check out our Facebook for Hampton Institute, where, like I said, on a pinned post, you can donate to us. You can donate to our Patreon on the main website as well. You can also, donate to us. Our podcast is called A Different Lens. You can go on adifferentlens.libsyn.com. However, we are also available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, a bunch of places. Personal stuff. Whataboutpeace.com. That's my main blog. It's like a hub for my writing and whatnot. If you want to contact me personally, do not be shy. Feel free. My email address is Devon DB. So DEVON DB @mail.com. Feel free to email me. Or Facebook. Just search Devon Bowers. You'll find me.
Thanks a
So
lot, man. So check this out there in New Jersey this weekend, this Saturday. The March for Peace, End the Wars is going on down. Where is that? I should have looked that up before I started running my mouth about it, shouldn't I? It's on the Facebook page, so you guys can look it up there. It's down in Central Jersey. Jessica Clayton, our comrade, she's a Brick School Board member. She was on. You got to check out our podcast from a couple of weeks ago. But we're going to have a march. We're going to start trying to get people to talk about peace again. We know that the duopoly is not talking about peace. They're not talking about anything, but they don't even acknowledge the wars that are going on in our name overseas. And I think it's time, the activist community start to galvanize around this issue, because it's something our political system needs to address more and more. It's going to be outside. It's going to start the courtyard outside the Ocean County Library. That's at 101 Washington Street, Toms River, New Jersey, September 15th. That's this Saturday. Check us out. The Facebook link is out there. We're a co-sponsor. I'm going to speak. I'm going to yell about peace and capitalism, and how all of these things are interconnected, and how we're starting to talk about all these things on New Jersey Revolution Radio. If you can help us out with a contribution, you can make a donation at www.njrevolutionradio.com. We've both done our job by plugging everything we've done,
yes.
and it's time to go to bed, and I know it's time to go to work for you, brother. Be safe, all right?
All
Enjoy
right.
your labor, and good night, everybody. I appreciate you tuning
Good
in.
night. Thanks for having me.